What up, guys? It's your boy DJ, and we are back for another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. And today, it's all about the tank. Everybody's talking about the Sith Raid and something else, TB, TW. Nope, today we're talking about the tank. I'm still, to this day, getting PMs for people who need help looking for mercs to help them merc their tank. And I figured that the easiest way, instead of going and explaining this to every guild and having to type everything out, that we would just send them a link to the video and, hey, watch this and this will help you. So if you're a guild that we're merking for, or you're looking to just get a little bit of help in general on how to deal with the tank, this is how we deal with it. So we're going to break it down into the different phases, talk about some of the team compositions, and then as a guild who is trying to just barely get the tank on farm, these are our suggestions of what you should do. Now, normally Red and I are the ones going out and we're merking tanks. Sometimes you might get Darth Vapor in there. And we go and we help different guilds. And we stay with you throughout the entire process in chat and even afterwards. I'm still friends with a lot of the different guilds out there. And shout out to those guys who are watching right now. So the concept that we're trying to get across to you, though, is that what does it take to get a guild into farming the tank on their own? That's the end result. At the end of the day, as a merc, I want to score 0. That's what I want to score. I don't really care about the gear. I don't really care about anything else. I want to score 0. That's my ultimate goal, is to get a 0 in your guild. So our suggestion for you is to take individuals in your guild, which guild leaders and guild officers, you guys are the ones who know this better than most. Go through your roster together in your officer chat and figure out who on that list is going to be the ones you want to divide up and say, okay, this person farmed this team so we can get through phase 1. You farmed this team so we can get through phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, and so on. You want to have different groups of people farming different things to get you through it faster. If all of you guys are farming the same thing for the same phase, then all you're going to do is work on that one phase. We just did a guild here recently where we were able to get them through the entire farming process in about 3 months. That's from start to finish. They can handle their own tank, and I believe they've done a few since then on their own, and shout out to O Vengeance for you guys. They did that on their own in about 3 months. They had the different people that they sent in to do the different phases. They meticulously planned out every part of it, and now they're able to do this. And with BB-8 and Rey coming back so quickly, it's going to be a big help. Those are 2 key tunes that you guys are going to need to be able to get you through this. So let's start off with phase 1. Phase 1, there's one very simple person to get you through phase 1. He is very free to play. He does not cost you a dime. If you can get a Zeta on his unique, which is this one, this is what gets you through it. Zeta Kylo will get you through a phase 1. If you have 3 or 4 people that have a Zeta Kylo on there, you will be able to just breeze right through phase 1 with no problems. Phase 1 is usually the easiest phase, and the concept that you want to go for is the entire time you're fighting with Kylo Ren, you want to use Outrage. What that does is, it doesn't matter how many buffs are stacked on him. You want more debuffs stacked on him. The more that Grievous can put on him, the better and the harder he hits. Also, if you read on here, it says that this attack deals 75% more damage if Kylo is below full health. That is awesome and amazing. You want that. You don't mind if he gets hurt, if he gets a little bit damaged, or if he gets down a little bit. Now, the one thing I will tell you is that you don't want Kylo to die. This is where you need to use the retreat button. And what you're going to do is, once the retreat button is available to be used, try it. If Kylo is able to escape, then you're good. If Kylo is not able to escape, then you need to retreat out of the entire tank and do the whole run again. That is the only way you're going to be able to use Kylo Ren without him dying. Because if he does not get past the retreat button the first time, he does not have enough time to do it again. Now, some people like to push it and wait a few more hits and then try the retreat button, you're more than welcome to try that. But my suggestion is as soon as it's available, go for it. You're going to get about 100,000 damage per try. That's about the average, and it works out really well. Now, another person you can use on here. Now, this is if you have a guild member on your guild that's far enough advanced that they have this specific tune, and that is, of course, Commander Luke Skywalker. Commander Luke Skywalker, basically, he doesn't even have to be modded that great. All he has to do is just go in, do a bunch of damage, hit retreat. If he doesn't retreat the first time, you're probably going to have about 6 or 7 more times to be able to try and retreat him. So up until right before Enraged, if he is not able to escape the battle, then at that point, yes, pull him out of the battle by retreating the entire tank and doing the run over again. But for the most part, you should be able to retreat after multiple attempts with CLS. And for the most part, you could probably get about 1 million damage out of him. I know Red is the master of CLS in Phase 1, and he usually gets 1 million to 1.5 million. Sometimes RNG's on his side, he'll get a 2, not very often, but it usually only takes about 3 or 4 times for him to use CLS, and he's in, out, and done with the entire phase on a solo from one person. Now, you don't want just one person soloing your tank. This is a guild event. You want the entire guild chipping in. So if you have multiple CLSs, run multiple CLSs. If you have CLSs and Kylos, run both of them. Whatever it takes to get yourself through P1 without dying. That is the key word in there. Without dying. Do not lose either one of your 2 characters because they are usable down the road. So Phase 1, those are your 2 main characters. There is also a team called Brotini that you can use. I am personally not a fan of it, but the team consists of Commander Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and R2-D2. All of them having Zetas. You need to have multiple Zetas on R2. You need to have a Zeta on Han Solo and a Zeta on Commander Luke. And at that point, that team works. But that is if you're much further advanced. It is more of you've been around the block for a while. You've got about a 2 million galactic power, and you're able to get that far. My suggestion is if you don't have that, skip it, because it's not worth it at this point. Now, Phase 2. Phase 2 is when you battle the tank by itself. Phase 2 is one of the harder phases that I found for a team to be able to solo. Now, as far as I know, I think there was only 1 or 2 teams that can solo Phase 2, and it's also left up to RNG. RNG usually isn't in much favor on Phase 2 because of the AoE fire damage that this thing does. Loves to take away a lot of health in one blast. So keep that in mind. Now, Jedi Training Rey, who just recently came back, is a very, very, very good use for this team. If you can get her, BB-8, R2-D2, and throw in, Scavenger Rey and Resistance Trooper, that would be a great resistance team to knock down a big chunk of this. My suggestion for Phase 2 is to go Resistance. There's a team out there called Viva la Resistance, which is the old Resistance team. That would be Finn, Rey, Pilot, Trooper, and Poe. That team right there specifically, very good at this thing. You can easily get yourself 1 to 2 million. Every one of those players are free to play. Poe Dameron is in one of the shops. Resistance Trooper, I believe, is on some hard nodes. Scav Rey is also in some of the shops. So you're able to get these people through a lot of the different shops. I know Finn is now in the ship shard or the ship shop and a few other locations. So all of these players are free to play. They're very easy team to acquire. They're pretty easy to gear. And honestly, once you get them all to about gear 8, with some decent mods on them, you can pull 1 million damage. And with the entire guild kicking in, if you can get 5 or 6 guys to kick in 1.5 million damage, you will have successfully cleared Phase 2 with just 5 people. Now, obviously, if you can get more in there, get more in there if you can. You really want the entire guild helping at one point or another. But realistically, there's 50 players in the guild. If you were to take 10 and divide those 10 up into different phases and then have the last 10 as a backup just in case, you should be able to clear multiple phases. My suggestion is take 10 players from, or take 10 teammates from your guild, put them on resistance duty, have them build their resistance. Anything above gear 8 works great. There's a bunch of different videos out there on how to mod them. You really want to work on modding them and getting them modded very high. Vapor, I'm going to hurt you if you keep texting me right now. So, Vape, you're killing me, man. Anyway, there's a bunch of different... he's going to laugh at this video later. That's why I said it right now. Anyway, the concept is there's a bunch of different videos out there that will help you to mod these different guys, but definitely resistance for P2. Now, P3 is a whole different world. P3 is probably the hardest one out there, and there is a team, I believe at one point they called it the ABC team, but it's really just called the AA Super Team, which is Admiral Akbar's super team. And what that team consists of, I'll actually go into my squad arena and build that team for you guys specifically. So you want to work on, first of all, your leader, and he doesn't have to be overpowered. And in all reality, you kind of just want his leadership ability there, and then you want him to die or retreat him or whatever it takes, because in all honesty, you don't really want Admiral Akbar in the actual battle. He's only there for his leadership ability, which we're going to go over that really quickly once I scroll back up to the top. Now, Admiral Akbar's ability. Rebel allies have 25% speed, or plus 25 speed, plus 10% tenacity. In addition, whenever an ally uses an ability that isn't an attack, they call a rebel ally to assist. That is the key part. All the top stuff doesn't matter. It's the second part right here. Whenever an ally uses an ability that is not an attack, they call a rebel ally to assist. Reason why that is key is because the very next player that you're going to put on here is BB-8. BB-8 is key for this super team. Every time he does his first special to give secret intel to someone, that causes a rebel to attack. Your next two people on here are Han Solo and Commander Luke Skywalker. Those two right there are going to be the ones that you put on this team as the firing mechanisms to control the B2's turn meter, which is the most important part. You want to control his turn meter. Thrawn is the useful key or the tool that you use to control the retribution attacks. Basically, once you fracture the B2, the retribution almost stops. Almost. Not every time. RNG may not love you that day, and you may still get hit every once in a while. But for the most part, every time you attack the B2 while he's fractured, he does not fire back. This allowing you to have CLS and Han Solo pretty much at that point just take down turn meter from him and just chip down at his health percentage. You can pretty much, if you have one person who has this team, can pretty much solo P3 on their own. Now, as far as mods go, you want their potency decently high, about 30 or 40%. Reason why you would want that is because Han Solo specifically, when he fires his main firing mechanism, he takes down turn meter, but he needs to have potency in order to be able to do that, because they have to go through the potency tenacity check. Getting back over to CLS is the same way. His main basic attack takes away the turn meter, but you need some potency to get through the potency tenacity check that's there. Also, his first special takes away 100% turn meter. Now, this does not always happen. Don't count on this to save you. This does not always happen. And yes, sometime throughout the third round, the B2 will eventually fire at you. It's very rare, even for myself, for me to be able to go through an entire Phase 3 without B2 firing at me. I think I've done it twice. But I don't really care to control that. Now, for those who do not have Han Solo, there is a free-to-play substitute, but you need her Zeta in order to be able to use this character appropriately. And that substitute is a Saz Ventress. Now, with Ventress on this team, you will be able to not just solo P3, you will be able to solo Phase 4 as well. She is a monster in Phase 4. As you continue to kill the B2 or the B1 battle bots, or B2 super bot, whatever they are, and then also the 3 turrets of the tank, that helps her Zeta. Her Zeta specifically allows for her to continue to gain, we'll read it together here. When an ally or enemy is defeated, SWGOH gains 35% turn meter and gains 15% offense, 15% critical chance, and 5% health, stacking until the end of the encounter. That is so key, because in all honesty, all she's doing is just gaining more and more and more and more power. By the 5th or 6th topple, she's already smacking the tank for 150k each hit. At that point, you just want to have Thrawn continue to feed her turn meter every single time and just power smash that tank into the ground. I can usually get it done by the 10th topple. I don't have to go all the way to the last one. But if you're just getting started and getting things going, you don't have her at gear 12. You can have her at gear 8, gear 9, gear 10. As long as she is Zeta'd, that is all that matters. BB-8's Illuminated Destiny will add power to her, and she will smack that tank for about 150k even at gear 8. So let's get back into the conversation. This is a P3/4 team. It's very good for this. If you can get someone who has BB-8, that is the key right there. I know that there are a lot of legendary characters on here, and it just depends on who you have on your guild that can do that. Now, if you don't have somebody on your guild that can do this specific team, yes, there are other teams out there that can take away damage. There is something called the IGM team, Imperial Grand Maneuver Team. It is a complete pain in the butt to run, but I've had that team, I've run that team, and I have soloed the entire phase with that team. Now again, you're not looking for someone to solo this. You want to have about 5 or 6 players on your team that can go through and help take out a phase together. This is a team game. This is not a soloing game, especially if you're just getting started. Now, once you've had your team on or your guild on farm and you know what you're doing for a while, then yes, by all means, go through that whole tank and just fire at will. Fire at will. Go through your 0 period like we do, and then just go in there and see how many points you can get that time. I think myself, besides soloing an entire tank once, I have gotten, my average is usually about 20 to 30,000 or 30 million when I do the tank. Let's get into phase 4. Phase 4 of the tank brings up my absolute favorite team. You need 2 Zetas on the entire team, and that is Princess Zodi. If you don't know what Princess Zodi is, Princess Zodi are the 4 clones, Cody, Fives, Clone Sergeant, and Echo, and then Princess Leia. The only Zeta you will need on this entire team that makes the entire thing work, it's just like Finn on the Resistance. Finn's Zeta causes the entire team to work. Cody's Zeta causes the entire team to work. That's it. That is the only Zeta you need on this team. Some people will say you need 5s. No, I don't have a Zeta on 5s. I've soloed the entire phase 4 with this team. Now, obviously mods are the most important part. You want to make sure that your Cody is as fast as humanly possible. 220 speed is probably the minimum if you're wanting to solo the phase. Now, obviously, if you're not there to solo a phase, if you're just getting started, 190 to 200 will get you by. It will get you a good 20% of phase 4. You can have easily 4 or 5 different guys run this tactic on this phase and pretty much clear it out as a team together. Now, if you're wanting to solo this phase with this team, 220 minimum speed. I think at one point I had mine almost at 230. I was like 227. 5s, he is one of your damage dealers. He is one of your biggest damage dealers. He assists constantly. You want to make sure that you have him critical damage, critical chance. Clone Sergeant, another major damage dealer. As you can see, I gear 12 both of them. Those two are major damage dealers. You want Clone Sergeant swinging his bat as hard as possible. So, again, critical damage, critical chance. Echo is there as a turn meter gaining tool, basically. He's just there to help your other guys gain turn meter. The only time you want to use anything from him is just his basic. Do not use his specials for anything because they are not necessary. In fact, you're messing up your own turn meter and your RNG. Just continue to use basics. Every time you use his basic, he grants turn meter to his least person on the team with turn meter. You want to use his basic. Don't use anything else from him. Princess Leia. Let's get into Princess Leia. Princess Leia is by far your biggest damage dealer on the team. Her and Clone Sergeant are the ones who do the most damage. No, you do not need her Zeta. It does not matter to have her Zeta. What you need to do is you just need to have her as high as possible on the damage meter. You want to be able to make sure that she's critical chance, critical damage, and you want to make sure that she's fast. Make her your fastest tune. She needs to go ahead of Cody. Reason why she needs to go ahead of Cody is if she's the first one to fire at the tank, she gives everybody critical chance. Her critical chance buffs is what allows your team to survive the AoE that happens after the topple. So hold it that way. Keep your Leia alive as much as possible and keep her stealthed constantly. Do not let her do that. So at this point, that's what you really want to focus on. Speed, critical chance, critical damage. Make her fire first. She's already a really fast tune, so to get her to go faster than Cody should not be that hard. It should actually be pretty simple. Keep her stealth the entire time. The more you have her stealth, the harder she hits. And if she's going to basically be your biggest damage dealer. Her and Clone Sergeant will be your biggest ones. That is my recommendation for Phase 4. It's called Princess Sodi. There are a ton of game changers out there that have made a video specifically about her, about this team, pre-rework and after rework. So make sure you watch the one about after rework because that's where we are now. They reworked Princess Leia and she does a ton of damage more than what she used to. Do not listen to them when they say you need her Zeta because you absolutely do not need her Zeta to function. So that right there has pretty much been the rundown of the entire tank. It's a team building effort. If you're just getting started, I can't stress that enough. Don't have somebody try and go in there and cowboy their way through the entire tank because they're going to mess it up for you. Team effort, divided up officers, get different people onto farming different phases. You will knock this tank out in about 3 to 4 months with no problems. Have it on farm and not need another Merc's help the entire time. There's no reason to share your team's spoils. They're for your team. Other than that, guys, if you have any questions, anything else, any comments, any thoughts, please leave a message down below. Like, subscribe, the usual BS, and we'll talk to you guys on the next one. Until then, we'll see you around.